A tropical wave that's spinning in the Caribbean is forecast to strengthen and could hit both Florida and the southern Gulf Coast over the next few days, possibly as a hurricane, meteorologists say. The system has a 60% chance of developing into a tropical depression or named storm within the next 2 days, according to the National Hurricane Center. If it gets a name, it would be Hermine, the 8th named storm of the 2016 Atlantic hurricane season. After a potential hit as a hurricane in Florida, the system could then get pushed into the Gulf of Mexico, with the potential for a second landfall somewhere along the Gulf Coast next week, possibly as a strong hurricane, Weather.com meteorologist John Erdman reported. A track somewhere through Florida or the Florida Straits and into the Gulf appears to be the most likely outcome, according to the Weather Underground. If it hits Florida as a hurricane, it would be the first hurricane to strike the Florida Peninsula since Wilma in October 2005, according to AccuWeather hurricane expert Dan Kotlowski. Regardless of whether or not the system becomes a tropical storm or hurricane, gusty winds, heavy rains, and possible flash floods and mudslides should occur over the islands of the northeastern Caribbean Sea and the Bahamas, the Hurricane Center warned. All people living and having interests in and around the Bahamas, Cuba and Florida should closely monitor the movement of this evolving tropical system through this weekend. The disturbance has produced tropical storm force wind gusts between 40 and 50 miles per hour in heavy squalls over some of the northern Caribbean islands and surrounding waters since Wednesday. The storm is currently about 750 miles southeast of Miami. In absence of official designation, clusters of intense thunderstorms and rain will continue in the vicinity of 99 liters. Prior to approaching Florida, 99 liters will bring a threat of flash flooding, mudslides and rough surf and seas in Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic and Haiti into Thursday night. Has the potential to be a life-threatening situation due to the heavy rain, flooding and mudslide risk in the short term, Kotlowski said. Sudden, gusty squalls can quickly enrage seas. Small craft should remain in port as a precaution. These same conditions will spread northwestward over the Turks and Caicos, Cuba and the southern and central Bahamas into Friday and this weekend. Regardless of whether or not 99 liters is officially upgraded to Hermine, weather and sea conditions will deteriorate over southern Florida and the Florida Keys on Sunday. The frequency and strength of rip currents and breakers will increase and will pose a threat to bathers. How dangerous conditions become in terms of storm surge and winds will depend on the strength of the system. Even in the absence of a hurricane, there is the potential for power outages and property damage due to high winds and flooding. A few waterspouts and tornadoes could be spawned. If the power goes out, access to fresh tap water may be limited. As a precaution, people are encouraged to prepare for the storm in advance and gather necessities in case evacuation orders are given. Into this weekend, 99 liters will open up some distance from the mountainous terrain of the Greater Antilles and move over warm waters. There is the potential for rapid strengthening once the system develops a complete circulation. If the system becomes a tropical storm, it would be a sign that inhibiting factors such as strong middle atmosphere disruptive winds have eased. If it becomes a tropical storm, it could become a minimal hurricane due to the same conditions. There are some signs that steering winds may weaken, which could cause the storm to slow down and drift northward, Duffy said. In one scenario, the storm could move over the Florida Peninsula and slowly diminish. In another scenario, the storm could move northward along or just off the west coast of Florida and strike the northeastern Gulf Coast with significant wind, rain and coastal flooding impact. In a third scenario, steering winds may remain strong and continue to guide the storm west-northwestward toward Louisiana or Texas. During the next few days, more information will become available on the path and strength of the storm for next week. All interests from the Bahamas and Cuba to the Gulf Coast states should monitor the progress of system. The last hurricane to make landfall in Florida was Wilma in October of 2005, which followed Katrina from August of the same year.